This is an old vice, an old heavy duty one. Slides in and out. Put my timber in there, put my bit of wood in there, wind it up. Wood's nice and still, you can hold it in position. This vice has got, is an old metal vice. So what I've done, I've put some bits of timber in the jaws to make it longer and not to damage a bit of timber. You know, when we're doing nice work, no matter what it is, kids' toys, don't matter what it is, when we're doing nice work, we don't want to damage the timber for having metal jaws in the vice. So we've got our wood, we've got our workshop. If you ain't got a workshop, you ain't got a vice. Over there I've got a workmate. Workmate, you can use this in the garden. Put your foot on it, hold it still. It's got jaws, so you can still put a bit of timber in there. Generally it holds your wood still while you're cutting it. For the purpose of the videos, we'll stay in the workshop. We're not going to use power tools unless we really have to. A lot of these DIY programs you see, I've got magnificent workshops, older tools, it's perfectly cleaned, and that ain't me. My workshop's worked in. I do use tools. You can see I have behind me, I've got a bandsaw, I've got a big saw there, I've got a lathe over there you can't see. Over the back there you can see I've got grinders, I've got drills. So I have got everything. And of course I use them tools. But for the purpose of youngsters coming into the industry, they will start off on a bench with a bit of wood, banging, screwing, cutting, sawing, chiselling, and that's what they want to do. They love playing with it. If they nail two bits of wood together, they're as happy as pigs. So that's what we're going to do. As I say, I've got a planer. Most DIYers now have got a planer, but we're going to try not to use that. We've got a sander, mainly for doing big stuff, but you don't need a sander because we've got glass paper. Bit of glass paper, nice cork sanding block, for holding the glass paper in position. Just wrap it round the block. If you ain't got a cork block, I prefer a cork block because it's smooth, don't get no splinters. Cut yourself a bit of wood. That's what most carpenters do now on site. Bit of 3x1, 75 by 25. Just cut it and just glass paper the edges off. Generally, get rid of all the rough bits, all the splinters, and you've got yourself a glass paper block. Perfect for smoothing a bit of timber. Hold it like that, finger on the front like that, finger underneath just to give it a bit of guide on your wood. Up and down, maybe take the corners off to smooth the corners. Lovely, perfect. When you're doing a lot of sanding, have one of these handy. Just pops over your head. I say head, my missus says I should say head, but there again, I'm an old Fulham boy, so that's where I was brought up. Sorry, that's the way I talk. Hopefully you understand me. Hopefully you'll pick some stuff up along the way. But any major sanding, sweeping up the workshop, go with this one. Talking about sweeping up the workshop, keep your workshop clean. I say clean, it ain't got to be like a doctor's surgery or an operating theatre. We're making stuff with wood. Keep your bench fairly clear. Keep the floor swept up. Don't matter a bit of sawdust, don't matter a few shavings, but you don't want to leave blocks and bits of wood on the floor. The last thing you want to do is go arse over head, fall on the bench, cut yourself on a saw or a chisel. So think safety. If you're doing a lot of sawing, using a hammer a lot, doing a lot of banging and stuff, wear a pair of glasses. Obviously if you was using power tools, grinders, drills, etc., you should get in the habit of wearing glasses all the time. In reality, in the workshop, you don't tend to wear them quite so much, certainly with hand tools, but if you're using a lathe, big saw, the planer, the overhand or the underhand, a planer's got two cutters on it. one goes over the top just for smoothing one side, or then you can go on the double cutters which goes underneath the machine for smoothing both sides of the wood at the same time. So next thing you need is a cup of tea. I have a cup of tea nearly all the time. My wife brings it out for me, my grandchildren go and get it for me. I like to have a cup of tea with me in the workshop pretty well all the time. So just for the minute, forgive me. Lovely. Right, as I say, some of you might not agree with what I do and say, but I have been a chippy for over 50 years. I'm retired now, but I still do bits in the shed for the kids, and I'm teaching them a few tricks along the way. And obviously you can't cut wood unless you've got some tools, so you need a set of basic tools. So the next clip will be how to sharpen your tools, how to use your tools, a little bit of safety, a couple of little tricks, and then we'll take it from there. Just before I finish, when we was talking about wood, wood's got a grain. See that piece there? Obviously that was the centre of the tree. You can see the rings. I think probably most people know how to tell the age of a tree, and that's count the rings. But of course when it's cut up like this, you don't know how old the tree is. You don't want to know how old the tree is. But knowing which way the grain goes is quite important, because sometimes when you're planing it, when you're using a plane, we'll come on to these, when you're using a plane, which is smoothing the timber even more, because when they machine timber in a workshop, in the mill, down your suppliers, when they run it through the machines, it leaves ripples. So when you're doing some fine work, some nice work, a bit of joinery for in the house or something like that, some cupboards or doors, or making something for the missus, silly for the kitchen, something, we plane it. We plane it with this. That's a smoothing plane. We'll come on to planes. Got to be nice and sharp. Can't cut wood and can't do anything without sharp tools. So we look at the grain. We see in this particular piece of wood, the grain goes up to the surface of the timber. Up to the surface of the timber. That's called planing with the grain. If I were to plane that bit of wood now, that would be lovely and smooth. If I were to turn it round and plane it the other way, because the grain goes up like that, it probably end up a bit furry. So before you start planing it, have a look at the piece of wood, find out the best side, find out you want the side that's the cleanest, maybe ain't got no dinks in it like that little bit has there, maybe hasn't got any big knots in it like that bit there. So before you do anything, don't just pick a bit of wood up and go, bosh, let's cut it, let's saw it, let's do this, that and the other. Have a look at it first, see which way the grain goes, pick out the best side, then we do a mark called the face side. Do a little mark like that, a little squiggle, like that. That's called the face side. So when you're working away, don't have to do this on all occasions. If you're doing a bit of garden work or fencing or something like that, it don't matter. But when you're doing something a little bit more intricate in the workshop, you could do with a face mark. In the old days we had an edge mark as well, but that's complicating the matter at the moment. So just pick out your best face and we do everything from that. That'll always be looking up at you. You don't want to put a frame together and you've got one of them marks underneath. So your face mark, mark a little face mark, your best bit of wood,